Joining us on the phone is Florida Attorney General Bill McCollum, telling Fox News that just within minutes after President Obama signs his health care bill into law, he will file a lawsuit with the United States Supreme Court questioning the constitutionality of the bill. Mr. Attorney General, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Only stand to correct one thing. It will be filed in federal district court. The Supreme Court, I think, will ultimately have to hear this, but the first step is to file it at the trial court level, and that's what we will do right after the president signs the bill.
Okay, sir. Can you just tell us, I think we have an idea of what the constitutionality question is here. Can you just give us more specifics on that, exactly what he's going, or what you're going to be looking to tackle, which portion of the bill?
Well, there are two portions of it. Number one, there's a tax or a penalty just for not buying insurance, just for living, and just for sitting in a chair. And we think that's unconstitutional. I think all the scholars we've talked to believe that, because there's no provision in the Constitution that gives the Congress the power to do that. And under the provisions that are likely to be in this bill, looks like they're coming out the Senate version, there is the higher of two, either a fine or a direct tax is involved. In the case of the tax, if that were to be imposed, that would be something that's never been done in our history. There's a provision for it under the Constitution, but it requires apportionment among the states. There's no effort in the legislation to do use the formula and so on. There's just nothing there that makes that constitutional. And secondly, this legislation so manipulates the states like mine, costing billions of dollars, making us make changes in our laws. It's far beyond any unfunded mandate we've ever seen. That manipulation, the courts in the past have said anything that really manipulates the states like this is unconstitutional under the 10th Amendment, under the sovereignty of the state. So we'll have at least two challenges. We think both of them are very, very strong. And we believe ultimately, I do, that the Constitution will be upheld and the Supreme Court will rule that this bill is not valid.
How do you think they're going to perceive the 10th Amendment? Obviously, this has been a big discussion that the Supreme Court is typically, just looking back at the history of it, has typically sort of juggled how they've treated the 10th Amendment and exactly how broadly they haven't really interpreted it as broadly as many would like to have seen. Is that what you're looking for here? Is sort of looking for?
That's right.
Yeah.
First of all, they don't have to find anything under the 10th Amendment to rule this unconstitutional, because that individual mandate is the way we look at it. And what we're going to challenge will be the powers that are in the Constitution themselves that Congress has exceeded the authority explicitly laid out. And in the case, as I mentioned to you, of the taxing provision, there is a failure to follow the rules that are set forth in the Constitution for any kind of a tax of this nature. So that's part A. Part B is that we will separately, though, make a challenge under the 10th Amendment, and it is fairly narrow what the courts have said, but they have used that amendment. We believe strongly that the manipulation, and that's what we think is the right way to describe this, that the federal government is trying to do to manipulate the states to do certain things their way, is so excessive, it is so clear that the court will have to rule that this is a breach of sovereignty of the states' rights. And it doesn't come around very often, but boy, this is, if any time ever would, this would be it. This is, we would not as a state of Florida be able to function in terms of doing the job we're intended to do with education, with foster care of children, with a lot of other things, if we were having to pay the expenses and comply with the mandates that are in this particular bill.
Have you spoken with your fellow attorneys general about this? I know a few other states were looking at this. Have you consulted with them?
Yes, I have, and several of them will join us in this suit. They may join us within a day or so with their own arguments. They'll be in the same lawsuit, in the same court. There'll be some attorneys generals who will file individually in their own states, and some may wait a little bit longer for the reconciliation process to come about. But I think you're going to see quite a large number of attorneys generals, perhaps of both parties, filing litigation over this, because it is a huge problem for the states. How do you pay for all of this? And how do you deal with the mandates that say you have to set up certain systems in your state, change your health care, the way you administer health care generally in your state, and so on? Beyond the issue of the individual mandate, the idea of requiring somebody to buy a health plan, which most of us find an anathema and believe it's wrong.
And just last question here. Have you spoken to Governor Christopher about this issue? Have you spoken to him regarding his feelings on it?
Well, the offices have spoken to each other. I've not sat down with him in person and conversed with him, but I'm confident from his public statements that he supports the position I'm taking. And as Attorney General, I can do this on my own, which I'm doing, representing the people of Florida, and I have the full confidence that the governor will and does support it.
Florida Attorney General Bill McCollum, thank you so much for speaking with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Take care, sir. Thank you so much. All right. Well, there you go. You've heard it from the Attorney General from the state of Florida. He says he will be filing a lawsuit the second this thing, before the ink even dries on the page, folks. They're going to be taking care of that.